I've always loved the peace of mind our baby monitor gives us. Or at least I used to. Last night, that changed forever. It was around 3 a.m. when a soft whimpering sound woke me up. My first thought, of course, was for my son, Noah. I rolled over and grabbed my phone, opening the monitor app. The screen flickered to life, showing Noah's crib, the little nightlight casting a soft glow on his peaceful, sleeping face. He was perfectly still, not making a sound. I was about to close the app, thinking I'd just dreamed the noise when it happened again. A distinct, distressed cry, clear as day, coming from my phone's speaker. But Noah was sound asleep on the screen. My heart started pounding. How was that possible? I turned the volume all the way up. The crying was undeniable now, a desperate, heartbreaking sound. But on the screen, Noah hadn't moved an inch. I sat bolt upright in bed, my blood running cold. If the crying wasn't coming from Noah, then where was it coming from? I stared at the monitor, my eyes glued to the screen, trying to make sense of it. And then the image wavered. For just a split second, it wasn't Noah's room anymore. The image flickered like a bad TV signal, and I saw a different nursery. This one was much darker, almost pitch black, with strange, long shadows stretching across the walls. In the center of the frame was a crib, but it wasn't Noah's familiar wooden one. This crib was made of a dark, almost black metal, with ornate, twisted bars that looked more like a cage. And inside a small figure was thrashing, the source of the terrible crying. My breath caught in my throat. It was a baby, but it wasn't mine. My mind raced, trying to find a logical explanation. Maybe the monitor had picked up a neighbor's signal? We lived in a detached house, far from our closest neighbors, but it was the only thing that made sense. I tried to focus on the details to see anything that might give me a clue. The room was bare, except for the crib. The walls were a dark, indeterminate color, and there was no furniture, no toys, nothing you'd expect to see in a nursery. Just that awful metal crib and the oppressive darkness. Then a movement caught my eye. 2 hands appeared at the side of the crib. They were long and pale, with fingers that seemed unnaturally thin and sharp, like talons. They didn't soothe the crying child. Instead, they gripped the metal bars, their knuckles white. The hands just stayed there, holding on, as the baby continued to wail. It was the most unsettling thing I'd ever seen. Who were they? Why weren't they helping the poor child? I couldn't tear my eyes away, paralyzed by a mix of fear and a strange, morbid curiosity. The crying intensified, echoing through my quiet bedroom, a sound of pure terror. The pale hands tightened their grip on the bars. I felt a wave of nausea. This wasn't right. This wasn't a crossed signal. This felt wrong. It felt like I was seeing something I was never meant to see. I felt a desperate urge to help, but what could I do? I was just watching a ghostly image on a tiny screen. It felt like watching a nightmare unfold in real time. The baby's cries were so raw, so full of pain, it was physically hurting me to listen. I wanted to scream, to wake my husband, but I was frozen, trapped by the horrific scene playing out on my phone. Then something happened that made my heart stop. The crying suddenly ceased, just cut off mid-wail, silence. The sudden quiet was even more terrifying than the noise. On the screen, the baby in the metal crib had gone completely still, and the pale hands, they slowly, deliberately let go of the bars. One hand then lifted, and a long, thin finger pointed directly out of the screen. directly at me. I swear I could feel a cold dread wash over me, as if that pointing finger was physically touching my soul. It was impossible. It had to be a glitch, a trick of the light. But I knew with a certainty that chilled me to the bone that whatever was in that room, it knew I was watching. It saw me. I threw my phone across the room. It hit the carpet with a soft thud. I scrambled out of bed, my hands shaking uncontrollably, and ran to Noah's room. I burst through the door and flicked on the light, my heart hammering against my ribs. There he was, my sweet boy, sleeping soundly in his crib, exactly as he was on the monitor just moments before the image changed. He stirred slightly from the light, making a soft, sleepy sound. I scooped him up, holding him tight against my chest, burying my face in his soft hair. He was real. He was safe. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, just holding him, listening to the steady rhythm of his breathing, the frantic beat of my own heart slowly returning to normal. My husband found me there a few minutes later, woken by the commotion. I tried to explain what I saw, the other room, the metal crib, the pale hands, the pointing finger. He listened patiently, but I could see the skepticism in his eyes. He checked the monitor, which was now just showing an empty crib in Noah's room. He tried to rationalize it. A bad dream, a half-asleep hallucination, a weird signal interference from some old horror movie someone was watching. He reset the Wi-Fi, checked all the settings, and assured me everything was fine. He even went outside to check if there were any new antennas or anything that could be causing it. Nothing. He told me to get some sleep, that I was just an overtired new parent. But I know what I saw. It wasn't a dream. It was too real, too vivid. The sound of that baby's cry is burned into my memory. The image of those long, pale fingers is something I'll never be able to unsee. I haven't been able to sleep since. Every time I close my eyes, I see that dark room, that metal crib. I'm terrified to turn the baby monitor back on. I know my husband thinks I'm going crazy, but I can't shake the feeling that I opened a window into somewhere else, a dark, terrible place. And the thing I fear the most? The feeling that the thing on the other side of that window saw me too. And what if next time it decides to look back out? What if it finds a way through? I keep the monitor turned off now. I'd rather have the sleepless nights checking on my son every 5 minutes than ever risk seeing that room again, because some doors once opened can never be closed. Thanks for listening.